Every night, you perform the most mysterious act in the universe, and you don't even realize it. You lie down, close your eyes, and then you vanish. Not your body, not your breath, but you, the one who thinks, worries, plans, remembers, simply disappears. And here's what will disturb you. You have absolutely no idea where you go. Tonight, when you surrender to sleep, you'll dissolve into something so profound, so utterly beyond your daily understanding, that if you truly grasped what happens, you'd never take consciousness for granted again. But we've been conditioned to treat this daily death and resurrection as ordinary. How fascinating that the most extraordinary journey you'll ever take happens every single night, and you've been sleepwalking through it your entire life. Now, let's begin with something rather unsettling. Every evening, you perform what amounts to voluntary suicide. Oh, don't worry. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being precise. Think about it. What you call yourself, this chattering, thinking, experiencing being, willingly steps into oblivion. You see, we've become so accustomed to this nightly disappearance that we've stopped noticing how absolutely extraordinary it is. Your thoughts stop. Your sense of time evaporates. Your precious identity, all those opinions, memories, and concerns you clutch so tightly, simply dissolves. And yet, somehow, mysteriously, something continues. Something that isn't quite you, but isn't quite not you either. It's as if every night you're given a demonstration of what the Buddhists call the void, that space of pure being that exists when the ego takes a holiday. But here's what's truly fascinating. We treat this daily miracle as though it were nothing more than maintenance, like charging a battery or defragmenting a computer. How wonderfully we've managed to make the mystical mundane. Now, let's examine this disappearing act more closely. What exactly vanishes when you fall asleep? Your name doesn't matter anymore. Your job, your relationships, your endless to-do lists, gone. All those things you think define you simply aren't there. The person who was worried about tomorrow's meeting, who remembered yesterday's conversation, who has opinions about politics and preferences about coffee, that entire construction just stops. It's the most complete forgetting imaginable. And yet, curiously, you don't experience this as loss or death. There's no sense of tragedy in deep sleep, no mourning for the vanished self. Why? Because the one who could mourn has also disappeared. This is what I find deliciously paradoxical. Every night, you prove that you can exist perfectly well without being yourself. In fact, you might say you exist more purely, more essentially, when all the psychological furniture has been cleared away. But here's the uncomfortable question this raises. If you can be so completely without your identity every single night, what does that tell us about the reality of this identity you defend so fiercely during the day? Is less than #0, 5 hashes greater than? Could it be that what you think you are is far more optional than you've been led to believe? Now we arrive at something truly puzzling. During your waking hours, there's always this sense of someone watching, isn't there? An observer behind your eyes, a witness to your thoughts, a constant companion who never seems to sleep. You might call it consciousness, awareness, or simply I. This watcher is so persistent, so reliable, that you've probably never questioned its permanence. It's there when you're happy, there when you're sad, there when you're bored, there when you're excited. The one constant in your ever-changing experience. But then, sleep arrives, and this eternal observer, this supposedly permanent witness, simply isn't. Not unconscious, that would imply something is there to be unconscious. Not absent, that would suggest a place from which it's missing. It's more mysterious than that. The watcher itself dissolves into the watching. What does this mean? Well, it suggests something rather revolutionary about the nature of consciousness itself. Perhaps this observer you think you are isn't quite as solid, as permanent, as fundamental as you've been assuming. Maybe consciousness isn't something you have, but something you temporarily appear in, like a wave appearing in the ocean. And when sleep comes, the wave subsides back into the ocean. But the ocean itself, that remains. The question is, what is this ocean? Is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than... But wait, it gets even more mysterious. Because sometimes, in this state where you have supposedly vanished, the most extraordinary theater productions begin. Dreams. Now, here's what should absolutely baffle you if you're unconscious, if the self is dissolved. Who exactly is creating these elaborate dreams? Who's writing the script? Who's casting the characters? Who's designing the sets? And most mysteriously of all, who's watching the show? In your dreams, you meet people you've never seen, visit places that don't exist, have conversations you've never had. The creativity is astounding. The detail is remarkable. Your dreaming mind constructs entire worlds, complete with physics, relationships, and storylines that can be more compelling than any Hollywood production. But the dreamer, the one who would normally take credit for such creativity, is supposedly absent. It's as though Shakespeare's plays were being written by someone who'd completely forgotten they were Shakespeare. And here's the most fascinating part. In the dream, you believe it's all real.